everybody. Welcome to GT Live. My name is Brandon Jones. I'm joined by Elise Willems, who's up here on the table, ready to go.
Whoa!
Talking with chat. Very excited about our two guests today, Mr. Yuri Lowenthal and Mrs. Tara Platt.
Hello.
Welcome to GT Live, everybody.
Thank you. Happy to be
just
here.
met you guys for the first time finally at Comic-Con. Did you have a wonderful Comic-Con?
Yeah, and that's what Comic-Con's about. That's what I love most about Comic-Con is getting to do that. You know, getting to meet people that we've never met before, or I mean, it's just a good time.
And I'm capitalizing on that friendship immediately.
Do it.
That's the way to do
Suckering
it.
you guys to come in on GT Live. Today we are playing Goat Simulator.
Yeah.
It is dry right now, guys, for video games, and I'm going to stress that in two ways. One, we are playing Goat Simulator today on GT Live. We have some exciting games coming up on GT Live in the next couple of weeks, but like just right in the middle of August, it's a little dry. So Goat Simulator was recently released on the PlayStation 4. Mr. Brad Ellis and Mr. Daniel Bloodworth. Bloodworth's got the controls now.
Yeah, he's
you showed him how it's done, Blood.
Sure.
They're going to be rocking the goat here. Unfortunately, we have a first on GT Live. We have no codes this week. So, you know,
What?
I know.
I'm at it.
I know. You're out. You're
flip
done.
this?
So, you know, we always invite you guys to ask questions for our guests. We hope that you guys will ask questions just out of
definitely hope.
just out of the kindness of your heart, and you know, possibly putting you guys in an embarrassing situation.
Let's
you know, there's
do it.
there's lots of
Yeah,
bonuses
embarrassing
behind
questions.
asking a question,
Yeah,
but
and
apologies.
I'm keeping track of who's asking questions, so maybe if, like, by the end of the week, we
Yeah,
can
you know,
scrounge
maybe
something
if
up.
Elise is playing favorites.
Yeah, maybe
You go back
I'll
to your desk
see.
and you find a code. Oh, look, there's a code. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just pass that along.
We'll see.
We appreciate you guys watching as usual. Hope you enjoy Goat Simulator. Speaking of Goat Simulator, before we get into you guys are transfixed by this
Absolutely.
game. And neither of you have heard of this, right?
No.
No, well, I mean, I've heard of a game that has a goat in it, but I've never seen Goat
Yeah,
Simulator.
I always thought it was a joke. When somebody said it, I thought they were joking. And now here it is, and we can't take our eyes
No,
off it.
it's kind of ridiculous
So-
because you're having a conversation with us and we keep going.
Yeah, you don't be offended. You guys don't be offended. We're going to be watching Goat Simulator.
As long as you guys are entertained, the audience
We're
will be entertained.
utterly
Everybody will be
entertained.
happy.
that's what the show is all about.
But at least,
isn't it?
I'll make an honest attempt for 10 minutes
Yes.
before we get into Goat Simulator.
Although, I have to say, the girl looks like when you're doing mocap and the balls get sort of messed up on your body. That's what your body looks like on the screen if you're in the middle of a mocap session.
It looks like a glitch.
It looks like a glitch. It looks like a mocap glitch, so it's kind of amazing.
How dare you say this game looks like a glitch?
I'm sorry.
This is an extremely polished
I'm-
experience.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, you actually, Tara, mentioned before that you don't have a lot of experience in games.
No.
That seems helpful in a weird way. You know, so you don't necessarily get attached. Like,
Right.
if you have preferences, you know, you might like kind of get more invested in one job. Like, oh man, I hope I get this huge franchise that I'm into. But
Well, I mean, I think on one hand, you really hope you get jobs because you want to be working and you're excited by the character or the story or whatever that is. But I've particularly found, it was kind of what I was mentioning before, I have a hard time playing the game in a way that feels comfortable to me. It usually makes me feel a little queasy or whatever because they've gotten so good with graphics and gameplay that, like, when you're in it and you're doing like shooter stuff, I'm like, I can't turn the screen and it makes me sick. I don't want to do it. And so it's good because I don't get stressed out. I'm like, I don't really know this game.
But I think that's only since games have gotten really good and realistic.
Yeah.
Because you and I used to play puzzle-solving type games.
Yeah, but those
You
are
know,
more,
where-
I mean,
yeah.
that's not what people think of when you think of video games, I don't think.
Once upon a time, that was video.
I mean, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
I mean, once upon a time,
Awesome.
I played, text-based adventure games. So,
Yeah.
I was an Infocom baby. So, this is like the future. It's like living in the future.
they're all video games. If you can get your hands on anything, be it a mobile game or one of these older games, you're
Well, then I
you're
play a
gamer.
lot of video games because I play Spider Solitaire on the phone.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Solitaire shout out from
I
Elise
used to
Willems.
play a lot of Spyro Solitaire on my computer.
So, if any of you guys watching are super weirdos and have no idea who Yuri and Tara is, usually I like to, bring people up to date on some
Please.
things you guys have worked on,
Sure.
specifically game stuff, because I mean,
Yeah.
you guys have done
Yeah.
a ton of stuff in animation and film. I just gave up. I got like 8 titles in, and I was just like, whatever. I'll just like move on to Tara. Yuri, because I kind of look back at like the big games, like when people
Right.
come in, we had Date Fanoy, we had Kifan and Huvel, like
Love
big
them.
titles that they've worked
Yeah.
on. I went like a year back and I already had like 9 huge games. Yuri, for you, without even going back like 14 months, Mighty Number 9, Disney Infinity, Lego Jurassic World, Battlefield Hardline, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, which you were both in, Codename Steam, There Came an Echo, Order 1886, Resident Evil Revelations 2. That's where I stopped. So I'm like, there you go, you're done. I mean,
Stop
like, that
there.
kind of already
You might as well.
already sets the scene for
Drop the
your
mic.
accomplished career.
Yuri knocks it off the table. Rawr.
Terra was in Pillars of Eternity, Sunset Overdrive, Skylanders Trap Team, and other Skylanders games. Bayonetta 2, Murdered Soul Suspect, Diablo 3, Reapers of Souls, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, and on and on and on and on. Is there such a thing as too busy? I mean, is there such a thing? Do you guys have to like turn stuff down at this point?
No, we still love to work, and we love being busy. I mean, luckily we love the job.
Right.
You know, if we didn't, it would be a little more grueling. Although certain games are more grueling than others, for sure.
Okay.
You know, most of the battle games were,
Yeah,
you know,
war
Yeah,
games where you're
anything that
yeah.
ends, I've heard, in like a 30 minutes of screaming.
Yeah,
or
you're
like,
shouting
yeah.
grenade for 4 hours. You're like, I'm done. Tag
Yeah.
out, tag out.
Yeah, those games go on forever. But then, but you get games where, you know, the writing and the character development is really fun, and it's not all just, you know, screaming over gunfire. And
There Came an Echo
Right.
seems like kind of one of
Yeah.
those games with
Oh,
like
that
kind
was
of really smart.
super fun
Script.
to work on. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even like Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, even
That
though
was
Sunset
really
Overdrive
fun.
was an action game where there was some raised, you know, voice happening, it was really funny and
Yeah.
you know clever, and there was a lot of story stuff too. So
Is there anything you can do to like prep for that last 30 minutes to an hour of just like?
You know, I think it's partly just stamina and doing voice warm-ups and things like that ahead of time so that you know your body well enough to be able to say, okay, I know I can put a half hour more into it. It's kind of like doing a workout at a gym. Like you go into the gym and you're like, I'm going to do these things. And if you start to feel yourself getting tired, you figure out a way to still do it, but do it in a way that's a little more conserving,
pacing yourself. I think pacing yourself. And sometimes I didn't realize how important that was until once I did a job that was very vocally stressful, and they, you know, you can see they hand you a script, and you're like, okay, I see, okay, I get it, so I can play to that. And then I got to the end, and you know, I gave it my all, you know, at the very end, and then they're like, oh, that's all you've got? And I was like, yeah, that's all you guys printed out for me. They're like, oh, I think somebody must have messed up. Like, and then when they got like 85 more pages, and I was like,
man.
Devastating. Because you
Here
do
we go.
psychologically get your sort
Yeah.
sort
Oh,
of
sure.
you amp up for, okay, I know what I have to put in today.
I
So
mean,
to
with
have that
anything,
happen.
doing
Yeah.
the dishes, doing, you know, like
Absolutely.
any kind of
Yeah.
task, you know.
Yeah,
you kind of-
exactly.
which is not the way to go about it. They always say it, just kind of like do something like you're going to be doing it forever, and then you'll be really happy when it's done.
right, exactly.
But you can't
that was a
help
lesson.
you can't help
Yeah.
yourself in a way to do that.
And so, do you maybe have a similar experience? You talked about pacing yourself, and like, you know, say if you were like running a marathon, you'd know to pace yourself because there was that one time you were training, and you're like, that's too far. Or
I will
that's too
say,
hard.
if you're a little under the weather, or if you have allergies, or if you've lost your voice because you've been screaming during previous sessions, you're already a little more susceptible to exhausting yourself more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a session once, and I didn't get very far into it at all. It was like a half hour in, and they were like, "Would you like us to bring you some tea?" And that's never a good sign.
That's always
Like
bad.
it's a lovely gesture. You're very appreciative that they want to bring you a warm beverage, but you know that what they're saying is you're starting to sound a little scratchy, and so you get very, you know, the more psychologically sort of concerned you get about the idea, the more you end up putting more strain and stress on you because you get a little tense and a little tight and tired and stuff. And so that was a really tricky session for me because of that.
Are the League of Legends sessions really grueling, or are those not as long?
They're not very long. This was actually when I was doing the Dominatrix on the. Oh my God, what was it that Jack Black was in? The
Oh, get no,
Dominatrix
metal,
and Jack
metal,
Black, you gotta
right?
be more
Metal,
specific.
metal.
what was the name of that?
Brutal Legend. Brutal Legend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was coming off of being sick. I had been sick, and they had already had to reschedule my session once. And you know, you hate being that person where they're having to reschedule. And so I was like, I'm gonna go in. We're gonna do it. And I got in. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then we got in, and the voice was not a terrible voice to do, but because my body was already a little weak, it was just hard for me to keep that up going for the.
But you did it. Have you
I
ever
did it.
have you ever totally bailed on a session? You're just like, we got to do this another day.
There have been a couple where I thought that I could do it, and I've had to come back, and it's always the worst feeling because you know they've you know bought the studio time and all that,
Sure.
and I always feel really, really bad. It doesn't happen a lot. You somehow find a way. You know, it's like putting on a play. You know, it never looks like it's going to come together, and at the last moment it always does. But every now and then.
And I've actually canceled a session before going in because I was so brutally sick. I was just
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
I have to. I know you can't reschedule me because this is the last week of recording, so I'm letting you know I can't come in. You have to find someone.
You don't want to
else.
waste their time. Again,
No,
it's
exactly.
pacing, like you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You learn your instrument.
Exactly.
You guys have wonderful instruments. So I have a question on the opposite end of the
Yes.
spectrum.
Uh-huh.
So we have fun, like action stuff. Yelling grenade and explosions and screams and
Right.
dying in a fiery blast. The opposite end of the spectrum is reading stuff for the toy box. So you were the toy box narrator for Disney Infinity.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I remember like popping in the first Disney Infinity. I'm infatuated with this game. I'm a big fan of Disney. I was
Love it.
actually at the Toy Box Summit today. This is a big week.
Really?
For
Oh.
Infinity.
I didn't realize that.
D23 is this weekend. They're announcing 3 new
Oh, right,
figures. There's a bunch.
weekend.
Yeah, so that's a big week for Infinity. And I remember like popping in the first game and I was like, who's this guy? That'd be a good gig to get. I wonder if I should get, Yaki on the phone. I wonder if I could get that gig. And it's like, oh, it was you.
Sorry.
But you get, I don't know, Tara, if you've had the experience too. It's kind of like stereo instructions. What you're doing. It's like, hey, welcome to the Toy Box. Here's how you do these things. You're speaking not necessarily to kids, but to a younger, more family, focused audience. How do you maintain excitement? I mean, how do you kind of be perky and appealing when you're reading stuff that's just like, this either isn't exciting or I have no idea what I'm talking about?
Well, they're very particular about the tone and it's changed since the first game, because the first game skewed, young, they thought. But then when they started adding, Marvel superheroes and Star Wars stuff, as Disney began to amass all the entertainment properties, they wanted to age it up just a little. They never even from the beginning wanted me to talk down to a kid.
Sure.
But they did, it did skew a little young, and then they wanted to be a little cooler later, and we had to find somewhere sort of in between. But it's a lot of, you're right, it's just one thing after another. And I have to, I trust that the director will tell me if I'm starting to slack off or if I'm starting to sound jaded and dead inside.
Turn left already.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just go to the Toy Box and look, you'll figure it out, okay? You'll figure it out. You're a smart kid.
I am taking that clip right there.
Right. Yeah,
I'm putting that on gameplay. Oh boy, I'm saving that.
Yeah.
But it is in a way, like we were talking about stamina and things, you sort of get yourself in the groove. And it's almost like doing narration or books on tape. You have to sort of get yourself in the, this is the vocal placement, this is where they want me to be, and it's this much energy or this much excitement, and then you just kind of ride it. You just, you sort of find it physically in your body, and sometimes, and I know you've done this for characters too, but you almost find a physicality or a stance that helps you maintain that certain feeling, and then once you do that, you stay there, and that keeps your voice exactly where you need it because you have that stance, and you can maintain that for a longer period of time because it becomes, in a way, muscle memory. So when you're doing something like that where you have to keep a certain level rather than letting yourself start to slack a little, and then you feel the voice slack.
Right, and you take breaks.
Yeah, you take breaks.
Does something like a stance or, even just in your face, kind of like an attitude to have, does that help with pickups? So they'll call you 5 months later and I need to bring you back in for something, and you're like, what is this again?
Do you just have to listen to a lot of
voice reference helps a lot. I mean, they almost always will play you a voice reference. You can hear what you did because we are amazing machines, and our body has the ability, our tongue can hear our voice doing something, and we can mimic it. We know what muscle movement we did with our tongues. That's actually how babies learn to speak. And so they mimic your tongue movement before they start making sounds because their body, their brain, because we're amazing, knows what the motion of the tongue is to create the certain sound. Much like that goat learns how to fly.
That goat never knew how to fly
before he heard someone else do it. And so because of that, when you hear yourself do a voice reference, your tongue already knows where your placement was.
Have you ever been in a situation where you have to do pickups months later and you just can't? You're like, I can't get it.
Yeah. And that's why they've always got the voice ref on standby if they're smart, and they usually are. So that just in case you're not finding it, they'll play it for you. But every now and then, once or twice there was a character that I had to come back to, and I don't know how I got away with it the first time, but I wasn't getting away with it again. It just would not come, and we just had to sort of go with this.
Oh, okay.
You got a pitching machine.
Go on.
There's a pitching machine on the back of that goat.
I don't know, Yuri. It may be time to start talking about some goats.
We may have to. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. We can come back to it. But I think it's time to talk about Goat Simulator.
So this was last year, correct? The original Goat Simulator was released on PC?
So.
Might have been early access or
maybe.
before that. The game might still be in early access. The jury is out on that. But you were immediately transfixed. You can watch this game now for a good 20 minutes. Tara,
easily.
What do you think?
It's fantastic. I just want them to put the goat in other places. So I want the goat in Old England and the goat in Egypt and goats all around the world and on the moon.
You just goat on a bicycle with
goat
a
on a
machine on his
bicycle.
back.
Isn't there that Warcraft MMO Goat Simulator?
There's a Goat Simulator MMO, yeah.
And it's is it like a fantasy world? I assume.
So no news on when that's gonna be coming to PlayStation.
Goat zombies.
Right.
Goat
Zom
mage.
goats?
But the
I would play a goat mage.
But this game has been on PC
Goat
before.
bees?
I don't know off the top of my head what other consoles it's on, but it is now on PlayStation 4 this week. So if you guys are hungry for what you're looking at and you want to check it out, it is now available on PS4. Brad and Blood, are you getting better at this game? Are you developing objectives as you play?
We're learning. I did not know you could ride a skateboard and a bike,
Right.
which is pretty rad.
Yeah.
Do we know? Confirmed by Tara. Do we know? Is there anything new that was added? I mean, obviously the controls in the PS4 controller, but.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, we've never played
There's
this
too
before. We're
much.
just diving in.
There's too much game here.
Right.
Our chat really wants you guys to record VO over Goat Simulator.
Yeah, I wanna. Yeah, there's got to
Because
be.
he keeps
VO for
getting
this now.
injured.
Right, we could do goat
Right.
bleats and
Okay.
I think you can just
people getting hit by goats.
Yeah, they did.
See, you're gonna get the gig now.
No.
That's probably a better goat than maybe this game deserves. I
Oh.
don't know.
You could do one of those screaming goats. Goats.
How was that? Yeah, speaking of screaming in the microphone, how was that one? Ian?
Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good
So
stuff.
good. So good.
No, that's actually one thing that we really appreciate whenever we have voice actors on the show. Is we're just like their mic control is just excellent. You know, you're just really,
Excellent.
Some people, they'll be really far back and they'll get really close.
Right.
Like Brandon.
Like myself. Or
Yeah.
Kyle, yeah. How was Elisa's mic placement?
She's
good.
my mind.
She's good, yeah. She's good.
So we mentioned earlier, Tara, that you don't play games as much. You play solitaire, but
Yes.
not the traditional games.
No.
It sounds like there's lots of projects that you work on that you might not actually check out when they're released.
Well, I try to watch gameplay that
Oh,
other
okay.
people do on the internet because the internet's a wondrous thing.
Yes.
And other people play the game and I can watch them do it, but I don't actually play it myself.
What games do you play, Yuri?
Lately, nothing. I mean,
Okay,
I used to play a lot, and as I've gotten busier and busier with life stuff, I become increasingly guilty when I sit down to play a game. I'm trying to think of the last game. The last game that I played was Sunset Overdrive for obvious reasons, but before that was The Last of Us, and I didn't even finish it. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine that, Ian? Not
Can you imagine
finishing The
not
Last of Us?
finishing The Last of Us?
Pretty well. I can
Right?
I can
Yeah.
picture
Yeah, I
that.
finished
You're-
I can picture
Did you finish
that.
Last of Us? Oh, nice. Thank you. See?
I got to like City Hall and then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
You're too depressed.
Yeah.
I just want to kill myself.
Do you have a particular style? Do you like 3D
I like
action games?
I like first-person shooters. I used to play a lot of RPGs. I'm not a sports game guy or there are definitely things that I'm not a racing game guy so much.
But it is fun when
But-
you're at the arcade to do those racing games.
That's true. That's
do
true.
that.
That is something that we'll do when we stumble.
Yeah, if it's
into an
Daytona, I
old-fashioned-
mean,
yeah,
there's no,
Right?
that's a no-brainer,
You
of
get to
course.
sit
Yeah.
in the car.
or Crazy
So much
Taxi.
fun.
I mean, like all the
Right.
all the stupid ones. I
So you
love it.
mentioned playing Sunset Overdrive for obvious reasons. Do you
Yeah.
guys have to go hunting for your performances sometimes? I mean, are there games you're like, I'm in here somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when you ask people on the internet if anyone's played the game, if they found your character, then it's much easier to access that particular footage.
Yeah.
But you're right, when
There's
you are
so
playing
many
through, because
playthroughs.
with the playthrough for Sunset, I was like, where am I? Where am I? And we were
Yeah.
waiting to see where my character showed up
Yeah.
because he's the player character, so it's pretty evident from the get-go when you're playing
Right, you
it.
hear way too much of me.
But
in
but
that
when
game.
you're playing a secondary character, you do have to get to the section where your character appears.
Yeah, but I mean, the internet's a marvelous place, and you just type in search words for into YouTube, and the playthroughs are multiple.
I think
So-
I think you guys both individually could amass like a crew of gophers that just
Play games
every
for
time.
us?
I mean, like gopher is a nickname, not actually like gopher.
Right,
Although
actual-
we've seen what goats can do.
Hey.
You never know.
Right, Go for Simulator. It's the next.
But just
big thing.
getting in there and finding those clips.
Yeah.
Is that something that your agents, because obviously like they want to, like I know you guys were mostly responsible, for your reels and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like, is that something where like, oh, we'd love to get a clip for this to show somebody else, or?
They probably could.
I don't know.
But then then you got to go down that hole of then the agent has to call the game company, and then the game company has to go find somebody to go take care of that. So you're right. It'd probably be easier just to go on Twitter and say,
Has anyone
hey,
played
has anyone played this?
this game?"
I'd love to find my character in it, and somebody will have done it.
Amazingly, with all the VO actors we've had on, I've never asked this question. It just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone on a project and somebody said that game? They're like, oh, I loved you in this. Just do that. Or like have referenced into the project you've worked on to kind of get
I've
closer
had them
to the performance.
reference other games that they don't want you to sound like. Like that happens a lot where they're like, they don't want you to sound too much like another thing you did that you're known for. So you have to sort of work with a voice if it's in the similar range,
Okay.
and then figure out what the tone or the POV of that character is to sort of distinguish it so that you're not creating the same voice.
Yeah, but if you're known for something and it's really hot and people really like it, there can be a tendency to do that. I can't think of a specific time that it's happened to me, but I know Nolan said that when he went to do Prince of Persia, the fourth game, the Zero, he said, well, what do you want? You want me to do sort of what's come before, or do you want me to do sort of a regal thing? They're like, no, we love you as Drake. Just do Drake.
Oh,
and he's
no.
like, and as an actor, that's like the one thing you're like, really? Because I know people are just gonna say.
And then the
"Sounds
fans
just like
think
Drake."
like,
But,
you always sound the same. You're like, no. It's like it's the game that you played like every character in Vegas.
New Vegas.
Fallout
Fallout New Vegas.
Where then suddenly the fans think that you don't have a range or you couldn't figure it out, even though that's what you were directed to do. And so it's a very strange.
Well, speaking of Nolan, we're confronting that right now with him replacing Peter Dinklage's VO in Destiny.
Sure.
Right. So it's the big question.
Exactly.
It's like, whose fault was this? Was it the director's fault? Was it? I mean, it turns out the rumors are that it or what people are saying is it's just a scheduling thing.
Yeah.
That they.
He's a busy guy.
Well, so it's Nolan North. I mean,
That's true.
it's like,
That's true. That's a good point. I hope they parked backed a dump truck full of money up to his house.
Has that ever happened? Has anybody ever dropped a?
No, nobody's.
One of those tiny little dump trucks.
I can remember one of those, with a roll of quarters in it. Yeah. That's never happened to us personally, but I await the day. Yeah, I don't know. It can be a number of different things that happen when something goes wrong like that. But yeah, scheduling tends to be the biggest one.
When I was at Disneyland, I saw a big truck that said Yuri's name on it. So.
Really? We're still looking for it. They didn't get directions to our house yet.
Right? Yeah, I gotta look into that. I gotta call Disney Interactive.
That's probably you probably have to pay to get into the park.
I'm sure.
If you got the money truck, would you do Sunset Overdrive 2 if it were to happen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell them, but nobody's listening to this, right?
No,
You're not
yeah,
recording
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're off
I
right
would
now.
do it even if they didn't. I had so much fun in that game that I would do it even if they didn't back the dump truck full of money up to my house.
What was fun about the game as opposed to other projects?
It was really irreverent. It was really in-jokey, and there was so much meta stuff happening in that game. It was self-referential, it was referential to other games. It referred to good things, bad things, post-apocalyptic stuff, zombie movies, all the stuff that I love. I got to run through that world, and they also let me riff occasionally, which is nice. And I don't always do that, but I just felt it was so much fun that I felt moved to occasionally throw something.
And it
in.
was a great team of people. I mean,
Yeah.
not that everyone's not fun to work with, but there are some people you just connect with so quickly and so readily that you just have great rapport and it's easy to play. And it was a really good group of people working on that game.
If you look at the stuff that Insomniac's done before, that's
and
that's
it's
kind
funny.
of on par.
Yeah.
It's funny, and I applaud them for that game because it came out at a time when everybody was chasing the Last of Us. Like, what can we do that's darker? What can we do that's more realistic? What can we do that that will hurt you? And the guys at Insomniac were, I don't know that this was their actual thought process, but it seems like they went, or we could go exactly in the opposite direction and do something that's bright and colorful and fun and funny and yeah. So I applaud them for that, and it was just fun. It was always fun.
That sounds like fun.
The
I wanna play
writing
game
was
now, man.
good.
I want to hunt you guys down and possibly murder you in crazy
Do it.
ways.
Do it. Yeah.
Flip around, pick you up, throw exploding teddy bears at you.
You could give him the mohawk back.
I know. For a while, I had the mohawk, and
Yeah, I know,
everybody
what
asked me if I was doing the Sunset Overdrive thing. I was like, no, but it works, doesn't it?
I was kind of when you guys show up. I'm like, I hope I recognize you. I'll recognize Tara, but I don't know.
Right, I know.
What was that? Was that for something, or was that just?
It
for...
was original. Well, it was partially because I had never done that and always wanted to do it, and then I got to do a play where it was right for the character, so I used that as an excuse to do it.
Right.
And then Comic-Con was coming up, so I thought, well, I got to keep it for Comic-Con, and then I bleached it for Comic-Con, and then it was time to go. I'm too lazy.
Well, it's funny because I've seen pictures of you guys, and when I first met you, I'm like, is that a usual thing?
Right,
Is
yeah.
that like in between, like once you get a job doing a file, I can get my mohawk back.
right. Exactly. That's sort of my
Seen that.
default.
Really quickly before we get to the midpoint of the show, we're going to talk about this week's countdown. This week's countdown is very special. It holds a near and dear place in our hearts. Oh, you're not feeling it, Brad, are you? It's not special for Brad?
No.
No. You could say this is a fortuitous countdown. You could say this countdown is a long time coming. This countdown is so special that I've prepared a little video to announce it. I hope you enjoy. true, everybody.
I'm so proud to be on
we
this
keep-
show for the top 10 sewers.
We keep talking about this is like the year of dreams. You know, like Shenmue's getting kickstarted, Final Fantasy VII Remake is happening, Mafia 3 is happening. I mean, it's just like so many dream projects. And every week, when a week is over and I finish up the countdown on Friday, it's always like, what are we gonna do next week? I was like, let's do it. You know, let's feel good. You know, for once in our lives, and let's produce the top 10 sewers. So I know there's specifically some people in chat that have been waiting for this for a long time. Specifically, right now, before we hit the midpoint of the show, we're gonna talk about number 11, the sewer that unfortunately did not make the list.
The sewer that wasn't dirty enough. It wasn't
sewer that was
subterranean
not
enough.
complex enough, was not dirty enough, but is from one of the best video games of all time, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess.
The video game that deserved a HD remake from Nintendo this year. We didn't get it.
This is true. Lisa's still holding out for that. That is your dream that you're waiting to see come true
that would have
in
been
2015.
my 2015
but
dream.
you feel very passionately about this, Elise. Not only are you managing the community for this episode, you want to speak passionately about this sewer.
Yeah, and I wasn't here for the countdown meeting on Monday, and then I saw that was the number 11. And do you guys know who was passionate about it? That really thought that Twilight Princess?
I know Kyle brought it up. I mean, I
Kyle
think Kyle was the one that threw it out there. So did you play Twilight Princess?
No.
So one of the big catches, obviously, they changed things up with the powers that Link has and the story and his relationship with Princess Zelda. And one of the big things in Twilight Princess, which was it came out on when the GameCube switched to the Wii. It was about that era. That he turned into a wolf. And so the sewer is the first time he transforms into a wolf.
And you're in the Twilight Realm for the first time.
And so you can switch, you go around, there's little spirits, and when you switch into the Twilight Realm, you can see what they look like when they were alive. They're all very confused, like they don't know they're dead.
Yeah, you're kind of unfolding what's exactly happening at Hyrule Castle as you go
So
into
why
the
did that
sewer.
make 11?
Why
didn't
is
it
it
make
only
the top
11?
Well, that's
10?
the question every time, because there are
$1,000,000
10
question.
other sewers that are
That
just
are so much better.
fantastic. You
Okay.
know, that
I'll
are
buy
either the nostalgia hits so good, or
Right.
it's just the gameplay wise it's really fun,
I'll
or
buy that.
they really take the sewer concept
You really get the
to a new
smell
level.
when you play.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
They came with the scratch and sniff panel. you
Smell
know.
of vision.
I loved it because to me it harkened back to like A Link to the Past, where you escape Hyrule and then you're going through the sewer, and I thought this is perfect. This is like a perfect homage to that. But it was a great way to demonstrate how to use like Wolf Link's powers, especially like Midna's big hand grab, and just to kind of like give the history of what's exactly going on. And I thought it was a fantastic sewer level. I'm glad Turtles. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't say anything more.
Well, we showed. Well, I mean, we can say we can. I mean, it's sewers, right?
Okay, yeah.
There's going to be
kind of
some
a-
turtles on
There's
there
gonna be some
somewhere.
turtles in
Probably.
there.
We
Probably.
actually did a tease. Elise did a tease earlier in the week. See, this shit's fast and loose, everybody. The show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, fast and loose,
Just
fast and
roll
loose.
with it.
Just roll with it.
I thought Yuri was gonna have the gap, but it was you, Elise. It ended up being today. But you actually posted a link on our official Twitter feed of a tease of just a Turtles game, and it wasn't even in a sewer.
No,
it was just like some random point of a Turtles game, and like the second comment on Twitter was like, sewers?
Yeah.
We're just like, whoa.
I was like, damn it, because I distinctly chose one that was not in a sewer. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on Twilight Princess not making this list? Were you guys comfortable with that? Because I'm not.
We got some really good sewers on there. It
Yeah,
was
you
kind of
did.
hard to pick.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we dodged this list for so long because it's like, I mean, it's. I never want to do a countdown on cool factor. You know, like, well, this was just cooler than the other, because what does
Right.
that mean? You know,
Yeah.
it's just really tough to
Opinion,
like, actually
yeah.
like quantify that. And so every time I think like, what is the quality of a sewer? Like, what actually, if you're like approaching a sewer, like what makes one sewer better than the other? And I would hope we figured it out. We actually got in there and started bringing up happy memories and realizing like there are some that are very important to the game. Like there's one actually Ian came up with a really good suggestion that I won't spoil, but it was something that like you're constantly going back to this sewer. Like the sewer is kind of an integral part of the map. And
Yeah.
I actually hadn't put a lot of time into the game, so I didn't know that. And so
good
I
game.
think we all got to put our faves on there. Apologies for
No. Some of my
Princess.
faves got on there too.
But it just shows you actually how important sewers are to video games. That a award-winning game. I'm assuming Twilight Princess won awards.
Oh, yeah.
A very celebrated game.
At
One of
least
the
in
one of the
Japan.
best Zelda games ever made.
And it's weird because to me, I didn't really even
Didn't make
consider
the
that a
list.
sewer. Like to me,
Right.
that's just the bowels of the castle.
And that
right.
was a fine line.
Maybe that was why.
Yeah.
Because
There
it's
were-
not
yeah,
it's
technically
not a true sewer.
A true
no,
sewer.
not to me.
There were like underground areas that
Yeah.
were brought up, and we're like, is
Like
that a
dungeons
sewer?
aren't exactly sewers,
Right.
and things like that.
You're gonna have to find a
Tara
sewer
gets
in
it.
Goat Simulator fast.
Yeah, you better get to the
Is that
sewer.
right? There's gotta be a
Well, he's
sewer.
going in the wrong direction.
totally
He's
going
trying to find
Right,
a
you're
sewer.
about as far from the sewer.
Unless he's gonna go through the asphalt.
Right.
Drill down,
Oh, that would be amazing.
right?
If you could take a header off the crane
Well,
and
he
then
could
and then
flip
plow
over
right
cars
into the
and-
sewer.
trucks down the road earlier.
What's happening to his neck?
That's how he climbs.
Yeah.
Whenever the goat's
It's
like
concerning.
going up against the ladder. with the neck
Physics
twists.
does not play in this game, I don't think.
So
Goat physics.
No.
Goats defy
It's a
physics.
So
nightmare.
the only fear that I have now is that we're finally gonna do sewers, and I'm like, okay, let's do sewers, let's make this happen. And then I had the thought like, oh no, what if we pick the wrong
I
sewers?
got codes.
And what?
You have codes?
I have 5.
You got codes?
Got codes.
Bloodworth has codes.
I told you guys. I told you guys.
All right.
They
Well, we
scoffed
do.
at
Well,
me
we don't.
bad.
Well, what are the codes for?
It's 5 codes for Gauntlet on PS4.
Oh, that actually.
That's
Okay, that
Okay.
was what we had in the queue, but it didn't work out. But I guess
Wait,
it did.
for Gauntlet?
Gauntlet Gauntlet got an awesome remake, and then actually got updated to
Really
Slayer
like it.
Edition. This might be a good one for you, because it's
yeah.
it's top down. It's very you guys are moving at your
This
own
is a
pace.
classic.
Okay.
We got lots of puzzle solving. You know?
Oh, it
Okay.
looks like we have a question from Yuri is cool. Finagling for a gauntlet code here. That's strange.
Give that person a code.
I love everybody probably just game up. Now they're like, oh, fine, I'll ask you. So yeah, I hope you like our picks. I hope that we don't replace the need and want for a top 10 sewers with the frustration and anger of us picking the worst sewers for our top 10 list. We didn't phone this in. We didn't half-ass this. We put all of our usual passion and production
Whole
into it.
ass.
What was not on the list?
The Evil Within.
Evil Within.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
corpses in those sewers.
It was a
Right.
disgusting, terrifying sewer, in fact.
Bloody
Spreading
sewer.
disease.
Yeah.
So yeah, there another number 11. So what actually did, other than
Yeah.
question mark Turtles game, what actually did make the countdown? You will find out this weekend. And before we move on to the rest of the show, it's time for a badass trailer. It's too bad Mr. Kyle Bossman isn't here because he loves him a good game announcement. He loves a good expansion trailer. And Dragon Age Inquisition, which is a game that people wanted more stuff of, is getting a new trailer called The Descent. People love going down in expansions. Destiny did
Into
that. The
sewers?
Dark Below is like their first expansion. Yeah, into sewers.
Too soon.
It could be it could be a sewer. It's excellent transition. Tara, you're killing it with the transitions today. I'm just gonna end right there. Badass trailer for the first expansion, the second expansion, correct? Of Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm not gonna come out on record and say that.
Yeah.
Technically third. But
Technically
first,
third.
like big one.
The first one was horse armor, so we don't count that. It's a badass trailer. Check it out, guys.
Each new tremor opens another fissure in the deep roads. If there is something causing earthquakes, it's down there. Are those eyes?
Show yourselves.
We must stop the Darkspawn and the Quakes, or all of Thedas may be at risk.
Get ready.
Yeah, that's what you said. It was like GTA with goats.
GTA with goats. You said Tony Hawk with goats.
Oh
earlier.
yeah, Tony Hawk with goats.
That's true.
Right.
Goats. Oh, we're in interior now. We're in like a restaurant. I don't know if I've ever seen this place.
He's gonna sit down and have dinner. And by dinner I mean eat her.
Goats don't need
You know,
it.
it's
Right,
fine.
goats
don't
It's fine.
Right,
Eat
goats.
clothing, whatever.
So before we get to the Q&A at the end of the show, I had a brief editorial segment that I wanted to throw at you guys.
Do it.
So I'm curious about you guys. You guys are an item. I don't know if people know that.
What?
That
you
is
guys
We're
are
an item?
together.
Aw.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but that's got to be tough. I mean, like you guys are you're going for the same projects. I imagine there's some times where like one person will book a gig, the other person doesn't book a gig. I always imagine when I thought of marriage before I got married, it was like I should probably marry somebody who's not doing what I'm doing,
the same thing,
so that we can talk about something at the end of the day. So it's not just like the same gripes like over and over and over again. Now that I've painted a horrible picture of your relationship.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's right. Terrible. Wow. Did you know we were in that? That's awful.
The first live divorce on GT Live.
What are some of the challenges of you guys being an item, and how's that worked out for you?
It can be tricky if we both go in for something and one or the other of us gets it and the other one doesn't, because you can't help but we all have a little bit of pride,
right.
and we can't help feeling a little like why didn't they pick me? You get that, but we're also not directly in competition because he's not a woman. Most of the time, and I am not a man. Not yet. But because of that, even if we are going in for the same project, it's never like we're really genuinely up for the same role or the same particular job.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And so that does ease up a little bit. I could imagine if it was a same-sex relationship and we were both in the same industry and we were in the same category, that would put more of a strain on something.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't end up being such a big deal. And I would say because we have so much going on, we have a production company, we have a publishing company, we work in voiceover, but we also work on camera. We, are always creating things. There's always a lot to talk about because there's a lot going on. And so it's not so much, well, what'd you do today? Same thing. What'd you do today? Same thing. All right, see you tomorrow. Like it's not, that's not really a problem.
Yeah, the bigger challenge, I think, is that because we are so motivated to create things and tell stories, that we finish working our gigs during the day for other people, and then we get home, and that's when the work begins. On the there's this web series we're doing, or a movie we're writing, or any number of projects that we're trying to get done. So there's not a lot of downtime. We don't have that. Oh, we get home from work. How's your day, honey? Great. How's your day, honey? Great. Let's watch the latest episode of True Detective. That's not a good example because nobody watched the latest episode of True Detective. But oh snap! I did actually. I was in it to win it. But it, there's no. We have to, like, when we want to take a break, we have to go, hey, let's get out of town.
Yeah,
right.
Because we literally have to get
the house
away.
is not a safe place,
because there's always work.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually have a whiteboard on our kitchen table of projects that are in development and in process and where they are and who has to do what. And,
which is a terrible way to lead your life.
Checking in to see where he is up to date on certain projects, and he's checking in with me, and we're both trying to manage our life and our careers and our businesses. So.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a whiteboard at home? Is that how? Is like Benson have his corner?
We do eat dinner on a whiteboard.
Oh, okay.
Actually, on the whiteboard.
We do not have any projects. We are just poor. Yes.
Would you? I mean, that sounds like a good recommendation. Obviously,
we like
not
that.
only for performers of any type, like whether you're in a web series or on television.
The
or
booth
on stage
like
or whatever,
that.
like to have side projects, and also for a working relationship, whether one person does lights and one person, does sound or anything like that.
Yeah.
Has that helped?
Having the project sort
just
of
other things, yeah, just
other things.
other projects. So when you love to work, you're never going to turn anything down.
Right.
But you might have a down week, a down month.
Yeah.
And you can focus
it's definitely.
on those things.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Because we're both enough of self-motivated self-generators that I think we'd both go crazy if we just sat there twiddling our thumbs. And when other people aren't hiring you, that's not an excuse not to be hiring yourself.
Right.
And so we have a lot of stories within us that we want to tell, that we want to create, that we want to see to fruition. And if we're not spending our time helping create somebody else's vision come to life, damn sure I'm going to be working on my own vision.
But it can be exhausting. I would be lying if I didn't say some days I wished that I had a 9-to-5 job, and then I came home, I could just catch up on
my daydream.
on TV.
Sometimes I'm like, I could work in a bank and just count money all day, and then I could come home and go to the movies or go to the beach. I think people do that, right?
People do that, from what I hear.
If you're in LA,
right,
you should get to the beach.
So it's got its ups. So it's got its ups and its downs. Being in a relationship.
Sorry.
Oh no! This is
goats on a roller coaster. Strap in, little goat. It's gonna go poorly.
Oh, lick the roller coaster wagon. You got points for that.
Oh well, yeah. So you can stay on while it. Oh, see now.
I don't know. It didn't work out that well for me. We'll
Is
see.
he
No,
crouched
we're
down?
about to find out.
God.
We're about to find out.
Camera.
Godspeed, little goat.
Goat speed.
Oh, good.
I told you that was gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Whoa!
This is my worst nightmare.
The physics of this alone.
Except
Nightmare
I'm the goat.
physics. You broke it.
Oh my.
Wow.
Wow. But I think you're getting bonus points for what you're doing.
I'll give you all the bonus points for what you're doing.
Tara, if you worked at a bank, you could play Goat Simulator all night.
Oh, right, that's
true.
that's true.
What I'm missing out.
Where does Titan's Grave fit into your schedule? I mean, is that something that you is that one of your things that you,
Watching it or doing it?
Well, yeah, well,
Yeah.
Do you have time to watch it? I mean, that's a.
I make
that's
time.
a hectic
Although that said, I have not watched the final episode, which came out yesterday.
Okay.
I usually make time to watch it on the day because otherwise I can't go on Twitter, unless I've seen it and can comment on it. But I think part of it is that it was a really busy day yesterday and today, but also I don't want it to end.
So how is it ending? So we actually did, for those who don't know, this is on Geek and Sundry. This is Will
Yep.
Wheaton's project.
Yeah.
Where he brought it. It's actually like super hot. Matt Mercer's got his own show.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got his crew of people that came in. Like voice actors doing tabletop is like the rage right
Yeah,
now.
I don't know how that happened. Other than I guess a lot of nerds, a lot of old school D&D nerds get into doing voice acting. I don't know, or maybe that's why we got into voice acting in the first place. But yeah, all of a sudden that seems to be a
Are
thing.
you an old school D&D nerd?
I am. I thank Dungeons and Dragons for making me the well-adjusted, well-read, decent guy that I am today. I love it and would prescribe it to anybody. And now we have a platform to introduce people who aren't as familiar with it, in a very storytelling, not in a very sort of, dice rolling, charts and math hammering, kind of way. And that was something that Will said from the very beginning. He's like, look, I want this to be about storytelling. That's the most important thing to me. So if we roll less dice and tell more story, that's a win for us. But yeah, I'm just excited we get a season 2. When we started doing it, it was just going to be a thing, and it was either going to work or it wasn't going to work, and we all had this magical time. But then, how do you take a show that's basically a bunch of people role playing and turn it into a show that people can watch and really get involved in? And they did a bang up job. And that's, I guess, why we're going to do a season 2. I'm excited.
So that's going to be a whole new story. We actually have our own. We do a tabletop series, and sometimes people will be out, so we'll do like a different campaign or something.
Yeah.
But that's like the trick. It's like how and when do you actually maybe wrap this up and start a new story?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how he's going to take it from here. I mean, he left sort of on a cliffhanger. I mean, you could leave it that way. It's a good way to end the story, but it's also kind of cliffhangery, and I'm hoping that wow.
Something crazy.
I think the phone line is a good way to
Yeah.
end
Yeah.
Goat Simulator right there, and nailed it.
Yeah. Oh.
I like that he looks like he's just floating. It's like I'm not actually gonna walk on this. I'm just gonna float.
Again, it's not
doing
not
wheelies.
glitches, it's the way.
Yeah, it's not glitches. It's not glitches.
It's
Wow.
the way the game was created.
Now can you land on the car doing wheelies in the parking lot?
No.
Oh, too soon.
I'll tell you. Anyway, it was a dream come true. Like, for me, it was sort of a high point in my career to a certain extent that I got to play, D&D with Will Wheaton as a job, for a week was that's right up there.
So did you just record it within a week? You did the whole season?
The whole season we did over 3 days.
Wow.
4 days.
4 days. We had a day sort of character preparation and this and that, and then we did 3 days of solid film. It was, in some ways, it was kind of grueling. I mean, we just had to keep going.
It's like, how long were your play sessions that you did over those?
We did.
You did
I wanna
3 a
say,
day, right?
Yeah, well, we did about 2 to 3 episodes a day, or 3 to 4 episodes a day, because we had to do 10, in the 3 days. And it was, we did 12-hour days.
Oh.
So if
12
I
hour
recall,
days, at least that's how you do it.
Yeah.
We got to talk to Ben. We got to get you guys in. 12-hour day.
We've talked about it before of doing
That
that.
is
'cause
that is
usually-
actually the way I've said we should do it.
yeah.
Just do it for a day and then have a month.
Yeah, because
What do you say, Blood? Tabletop day? Tabletop day.
Tabletop day. See, it's gonna happen now.
So we usually do like an hour and a half once a week.
All right.
Yeah.
Just,
You could do.
Yeah, and then I know with Matt and the gang that do Critical Role, they actually
Yeah.
play live.
Because that's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
live.
Twitch stream
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, which is also super fun. That's the beauty of it, is they were able to, both shows are able to coexist without one trying to have to one up the other because they're just different enough.
But it's interesting. I actually didn't do tabletop until like 4 or 5 years ago. I was around it. I understood it, but I never actually committed, got in a campaign, did it on multiple weeks.
Yeah.
And I did think it was like a very technical thing. I thought it was just going to be all numbers. I really was going to have to understand
learn
the systems.
all this stuff.
And I was really surprised that like storytelling was the main thing. And not only that, but like whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, whether like anything you do in the arts, like it's just going to make you sharper. It's gonna pump your imagination full of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that wasn't the goat's blood.
It was. It was like a goat cockfighting ring.
Oh.
You're kidding me.
And,
this game just gets
better. And now
better
we're all
and better.
muscular because we won.
Oh, well done for us. Go
Wow.
goat.
I kind of don't want to show them everything, and I want to leave some mystery.
Right?
So
I
you guys
know.
will check it out. If either one of you tweets about Goat Simulator after the show, we'll consider that a win.
We'll tweet about it.
just like I felt it's a win that when people tweet about Titan's Grave and say, "Hey, I've never played an RPG before," and like a tabletop RPG, and now a group of us just got together to do it for the first time. That like warms my little nerdy little D&D heart, my little 20-sided heart. But it's been a really cool experience, and I'm glad that we get to do more.
Well, now that I'm tempted. Now that it's done, maybe I'll take a 12-hour days and just fire through the whole.
Maybe
Yeah,
you
because
should.
the episodes are about an hour. Some of them are like 45, but some are.
Yeah, like 45 minutes.
It's a piece of cake. It's like a Saturday.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
doing it.
Come on, when we were younger, we used to play all weekend. So
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up the show with some questions, which it looks like you got a pretty healthy amount of
A
questions.
ton of
there, at least.
questions.
Let's do it.
There's one that we sort of like touched on when you were asking a bit about reconciling personal and work life. That sort of came up in the chat, but I'm just curious. Have you guys ever voice acted as a couple on screen?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Persona.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of projects that we've done together. We don't always record together because so many of those sessions are solo sessions.
And often we're enemies rather than.
Which persona were they in?
3 and 4.
What?
Yeah. Or wait, you were more in 3.
I'm Mitsuru and Elizabeth.
Right.
Where's Ben?
Yeah. Ben with
One of our guys
Is
losing his
a
mind right now.
super Persona fan.
The guy who hosts tabletop.
Oh, that's
He's a very relevant person for you to be speaking to. Of course, he's
Yeah,
not
we
here.
should.
Who are
we'll
you
be
in
back then.
for?
He's working hard playing some RPG, presumably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
usually we play enemies rather than like a couple.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that more fun?
Yeah, antagonist, protagonist.
It's
more
more
than,
fun, but I think it's also because our vocal qualities are like you tend to play the young heroic or the young bad boy, and I'm like the enemy villainess.
you play warrior
I play
chicks
warrior
and-
chicks,
yeah.
and those are less romantically inclined, I suppose.
cool.
That's
though.
true. That's true. We ever played a couple though in anything. The movie we met on was about that.
Yeah, but that was live action.
But that's true. It was an NYU grad film we met on in New York.
Filmmaker
And,
J.C. Corey. He's gone on to do a lot of other stuff.
He's sort of a cool romantic comedy guy. We did his school project, and that's where we met. And as a matter of fact, our very first kiss ever is immortalized on celluloid.
Nice.
Yeah.
I actually, I was like listing out questions for you guys beforehand, and I was like, I'm not gonna ask how they met. We got to it. More questions.
You're like, I'll ask after the show.
That's fine.
Yeah, my personal record. This is from Carl Carlston. What was your I finally made it moment in voice acting like that? Or it could be live action, just when you're like, oh, this is it.
I don't think I've had that yet.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. No, I still I don't know. It all seems so tenuous, that it could go away at any moment. That it's hard to have that. I've made it. I mean, like I said, Titan's Grave was a very I've made it in life, moment for me.
I think we're always excited when we get bookings. Like when when your agent calls and says, you booked the blah, 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 you're thrilled. You're like, oh my God, they picked me. They wanted me.
Yeah.
I did it. But then as soon as you get into it, you're still just in it again. And it's hard not to continue to add goals because we're human and you keep saying, oh, well, I did that, so now I have to do it better.
I'm so nerdy about so many things that every time I get to play a character that belongs to a franchise that I love, or play a character that voice a character that I grew up with, like getting to like Superman, on Legion of Superheroes, I got to play Superman for God's sake. That was one of those moments where I'm like, wow, I guess it's just gonna be all downhill from here. But there's so many things that I love that it continues to, every time either a Marvel or a DC hero or some franchise that I grew up playing or whatever it is. those moments are always touchstones for me. Every time I do one of those, I'm like, yes, I check that off my list.
Did you have a stance for Superman? Were you like hands on hips?
Oh my God, that's what I was
literally
referring
did.
to earlier when I said sometimes you have a position. He would stand there.
But I wasn't aware of it. And then somebody made a joke. They said, "Are you aware that you're standing in the Superman pose while you're doing it?"
It was like Ewan McGregor when he was playing Obi-Wan. He was like doing the lightsaber sound effects, and they're like, "We're recording that."
You actually don't have to record that.
Literally recording that.
I remember that story.
We're gonna insert
Put that
later.
in later.
I would bring in boots and the cape. I'd do the whole thing.
Right? Oh, we're so married.
Next
More question next.
This is from Divinity, and it's a pretty interesting industry question. So recently, Destiny announced that they're going to redo Peter Dinklage's VO with Nolan North.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard about this story at all.
Yeah.
From now on, Nolan North will be recording all the lines, and they kind of explain that, well, we can get Nolan, we can get, he's more available than Peter Dinklage, so it's easier to get him to just come in. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But Divinity wants to know, what you guys thought about this change. Do you think it's disrespectful toward Peter Dinklage, or do you kind of understand?
Well, we also don't know the whole story. We don't know Peter Dinklage's side. He may have really wanted to do it, but just said, look, guys, this is a bad time in my life right now because I'm doing all this other stuff. I regretfully have to make this choice. And so it's really hard. It's so easy on the internet for people to put their finger and say what they think is happening and put their opinion on somebody else's choices, but none of us really know what the real story is. And so my hope is that Peter Dinklage is okay with it. My hope is that Nolan's very excited to be working on it, and I can see it from both sides of the issue, and I would hate to think it got taken away from Peter Dinklage, but I also can only assume that it probably was a scheduling conflict of interest that didn't work out,
And also, again, I don't know what the situation is, but we get fired all the time. I mean, getting fired is part of this business.
True.
They'll make a decision, and they'll work with it, and sometimes they're like, you know what, it doesn't work. We're gonna get somebody else.
I mean, after you record.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you're done. It's in the can, and then you
Totally.
just find out later.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not in
Sometimes
there.
it's in the middle of your session. Sometimes it's months later, and you don't know that you've been replaced.
When you
Yep.
get the
You're
DVD
playing
or you
it, you're
download
like,
it, and you
"Where
watch it, and you're
am
like, I swear I was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And just,
Right,
oh.
and sometimes, and it never has anything to do with you personally or your skill level. It's just somebody said, you know what, that's not working for us.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I recorded 13 episodes of a series once, and then the higher ups went, we don't like that guy. Why didn't you tell us that was, and then so they re-recorded everything without it. So it happens, and it hurts, it stings, at first, because who likes to get fired, but then it's part of the job.
This is
Good
from
question, Divinity. Nice.
Yeah, that was a great question. This is from BarrelBot. When voice acting for a game, how much information about the project are you typically given? Are you just provided with lines and directed appropriately, or do you get a wider look at the production? Because like a lot of video game development, it's so under wraps.
Yeah.
Because there's
These are all great
embargoes.
questions.
Because
We've had a lot of VO actors on, so like we're getting to the
Get
good
good,
stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Sunset Overdrive, and how much of that do you actually know? Because it's so under wraps.
Well, I would say a lot of times when you are working on the game, you've signed a non-disclosure agreement, so they're more willing to share information with you when you are in process because they know that you've got a signed contract that says you can't talk about this till the game has been released. We're now very comfortable talking about Sunset Overdrive. It's been out for however many, But when you're in the middle of working on something, you are under agreement that says you will not talk about it, and you can get fired, and you can lose your
fined.
or fined, sued. Because you do disclose information that they don't want out. That said, some games are a lot more scared, some of the really big titles really don't want information getting out accidentally, and so they won't give you very much. And you book the job and it's still called Untitled Space
Right, or
movie,
they'll name it like
video
barbecue.
game. Yeah, and you're like, what am I working on? I don't know. And then hopefully, they give you enough information when you're in the recording booth to make your choices so that you're doing a good performance. But usually they give you something, although sometimes they're not very far along in the process also, depending on where they are in pre-production.
Yeah,
and
if it's a big franchise, sometimes I'm such a huge nerd that I'll suss it out. I'll be like, I know that's not the title. What could this be? And then I'll go into the audition and I'll sign the NDA or I'll get the job or whatever. And usually when you get the job, they open up. But sometimes even in the audition, I'll say, okay, now every line that says JoJo, that's Batman, isn't it? You know, like JoJo equals Batman. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, okay, JoJo's Batman. I know JoJo's Batman.
Those stories are awesome.
Right.
Brian said that when he was working on Fallout.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like, unnamed action game, and like the first line's like, war never changes. And he's like,
Yeah,
like
right.
Jason Zumwalt from
Yeah.
GTA 4 did the same thing. It was like some silly name, and like the fourth audition, he like grabbed the secretary, and he's like, this is GTA, right? Come on.
Yeah, right. You gotta be able to tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've gotten more and more, under wraps about that sort of thing. And it always makes me nervous when we come on shows like this. Like, so what are you working on? And I'm
You're
like,
like, I can't talk about
No, that's-
anything.
yeah.
what can I?
If you could prep any of those for the end of the show, that'd be great. Because I'd love to talk about stuff you guys are projects you guys are working on, web series and your other. Basically, you're bored. I want you
We're
to go
very
through
bored.
the whole whiteboard.
Right.
Yeah.
This is from Suburban Samurai Jam, and it's for Tara. How was your experience voicing Zero? Did you find the foul-mouthed dialogue shocking at the time, or was it just another day on the job?
Well, I mean, it's funny because that's not how I really speak in my normal life.
Oh, it's good.
But it was a lot of fun.
Does, but yeah.
But it was a lot of fun actually playing that character, partly because she was foul-mouthed and she just did not give a
Hoot.
yes. Partly a shoot. Partly that, and partly because the game was just so wild and crazy.
So I've got to trust that if the
Yeah,
goat is in
we're
hell.
going goat hell.
Go
I'm
with
sorry.
the
goat is in
hell.
hell.
Hell goat.
Wow. This is truly the best game.
There's something. I think you gotta like bring bodies in there or something.
You have to get demons, right?
You have to
Because
like
you're in hell.
drag corpses in, and like once you bring 5 corpses in or something,
That's gorgeous.
go to hell. But there you go.
But yeah, I trust that they wouldn't have hired me if they didn't feel okay with what I was doing. And I get cast as Japanese characters a lot because I speak Japanese, and so and it's a weird it's a weird skill set that I never on camera I never got hired as Japanese for obvious reasons, but the voice acting is so colorblind in a way that it opens up the playing field sort of as of roles that you can play. It's one of the magical things about voice acting is there are so many different types of roles I could play that I'd never play on camera or on stage. So yeah, I have to be okay with the fact that they're okay with it. And if I ever have a real issue, then I'll turn it down or whatever. But everybody's always been really respectful.
Although
about that.
occasionally you do get into a session without really knowing how far they're going to push it, and when you're in the session, it can get a little dicey depending on how far they do want you to push things. So.
Yeah.
What is goat pentagram in Japanese?
Goat pentagram. Honestly, wait, what is? I'm trying to think of the word for goat. Ushi is cow. No, I know, but now I want to. I mean, probably pentagram in Japanese is pentagramu.
Pentagramu.
Yeah. That's they steal
just
so
stick an U on
many
it.
words.
Right. Did you just pick up Japanese somewhere, or was that something that you did specifically because you're like, I want to be in performance, I want to do.
No,
I want to be world.
I thought before I got into performing, I thought that I was probably going to go into the Foreign Service or some sort of international relations. It's what my dad did. So I grew up all over the world, and I already speak. So at that point, I already spoke a couple languages, and I thought that's sort of the track that I'm on. And then I blew it all to hell by becoming an actor, but not before I had studied Japanese and gone to Japan, and I worked for the Japanese government for a couple of years before saying, you know what, I really got to try this acting thing and not look back on it 30 years from now and go, that might have been fun when I'm in my dead end, diplomatic job or whatever. And I've never looked back, but it was a good time.
Well, there's your
so.
fun. You be a diplomat. You work at a bank.
Yeah.
That's the dream, isn't it?
It's our cover.
Right. I made our cover.
No one will expect it.
I
Right.
have one last question.
One last question.
This is from ahab_GT. As people that do a lot of VO for Japanese games, does it ever bother you when a lot of people hate on dubs and say things like, "I only watch subbed versions of anime"? We got a couple of those. I've heard that around here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, watch what you like, don't watch what you don't like. I have the same feelings about all sorts of entertainment and media. So if it's not your thing, that's totally fine. It has nothing to do with me or my performance. And honestly, if it does have something to do with my performance, that's fine, because you're not going to like everybody, and not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah, it's hard for me to take that personally because honestly, I prefer the dubs to the subs to the dubs because I like hearing it in the original language. That said, dubs have come a long way since I first started listening to dubs.
I get torn because I like dubs because then I can eat dinner and
Right.
watch anime, but whereas if it's subbed, I
And
can
you have
do
to-
both.
Watching it, yeah.
There's
Right.
no way.
Or you have to learn how to speak Japanese.
Yes, should.
Or eat
Touche,
anything through
sir.
straw.
Yeah.
But there's, you know,
I drink all my meals.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Blender.
something for everybody, and you know, it's the internet. Not everybody's gonna like everything you do. As a matter of fact, because it's the internet,
You keep dissing the internet. But you said the internet's a wonderful place.
it is a wonderful place.
It's a wonderfully terrible place.
It's also full of
You
hatred.
didn't get the whole sentence. It's fine.
Have you ever done anything in Japanese? Have you ever done like for a job? Have you ever? For
yeah.
an acting role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in
As a
Teen
matter of
Titans,
fact,
weren't you?
yeah, Teen Titans was sort of my first where I got hired to do Japanese. Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo was an arc where the Teen Titans go to Tokyo. In Saints Row 2, I played a character who spoke Japanese, and just yesterday they said it was on. There's an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where I played a bunch of actual ninjas. And they
Actual
they
ninja
spoke
humans.
Japanese.
I mean, the
actual
ninja
ninja
turtles are
humans.
ninjas.
Sorry,
I mean,
that's
let's
true.
just get
I did not mean to diss
You mean
turtles
less
there.
pizza.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Less pizza, more ramen or whatever. But yeah, so occasionally I do get called on to play Japanese characters, and that's always fun.
Is this working? Are we seeing?
Did you get
I
enough
don't mean
people
just
in
to-
your pentagram?
I don't mean to
It
like.
might
I don't know
be
if you've got to
10.
put them in the corners or something. I'm
got
not
it.
exactly sure.
It might be 10.
10.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That's a lot of
Not
bodies.
the cardinal directions. You don't have to stick them on each point.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. You're not sacrificing enough blood.
Right?
Call
Not
forth the
sacrificing
demon.
enough blood.
Goat demon.
Blood. Yeah,
Blood.
the blood.
So, so is there anything specifically that you would like people to know? You mentioned, Titan's Grave is wrapping up. Perfect time. You
Yeah.
said the final episode has already come up, so it's
Just yesterday.
go to
yesterday.
Geek and Sundry, or you can just search Titan's Grave.
Yeah, exactly.
Do what I'm going to do. Take a Saturday off and just.
Yeah. I'm gonna push two things.
Do it.
That'll be that you might be
exciting.
okay about. One is a web series that we did, a comedy web series.
Oh, yeah.
Called Shelf Life. That's about 4 action figures on a young boy's shelf. It's all live action though. We're in costumes on a giant shelf. It's the main cast is Tara and I and Travis Willingham,
Okay.
who you'll know from many things.
Definitely.
And it's like Toy Story
On
drugs. It's like Toy Story, but really foul-mouthed, and it's one of the things I'm the most proud of ever. We did four seasons of it. There's like almost 50 episodes out, and I feel like it never got its due. Like I didn't feel like people ever found it. So I'm gonna put that in the shelf life.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I've actually always kind of like been depressed watching Toy Story because it's like the kind of concept that you want to like just take far enough to enjoy the movies, but don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Right.
No, ours.
Yeah, we think about it.
We think
too
about it a
much.
lot in the sense that like we think of the little kid that owns us, that is our owner, as like little Hitler. We refer to him as little Hitler a lot.
Yeah,
So
and we torture him, and he tortures us.
it's a mutual love-hate relationship.
Yeah, and in the first couple of seasons, just for budgetary wise, we had to stay just on the shelf. It was like always the same things, and then we had to get more creative. And then we did a crowdfunding thing for the season 4, and then we took them all over the house. We were running around.
really
We
fun.
were driving in Barbie,
And then
Corvette,
now we
Barbie's
have an
Corvette.
app that
and,
has all the episodes. It has all the behind the scenes and all the interviews.
Yeah.
And you can actually read the scripts and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's Shelf Life, the complete package. But if you go to shelflifeseries.com, or if you want to follow anything that we're doing, we have sort of a main website that ties everything in. It's called Monkey Mayhem Hub. Our production company is Monkey Kingdom Productions, and so if you go to monkeymayhemhub.com, you can see what's going on. Because we just did a feature film that's a mockumentary called Con Artists about voice actors going to conventions.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it's like Best in Show, but for that. So you can that's conartistsmovie.com.
Yeah, it's people who have seen it are comparing it to Con Men, which is the Alan Tudyk
Right.
web series, which is a different take on it, but it's about that same world. It's about being a guest at a convention.
And this is something people can watch now. Where
Yeah, you
comment
can.
is-
It's on
is,
Vimeo on
opened
demand
It's
now.
on Vimeo right now.
Nice. Anything you would care to add? That's a pretty complete package, I think. Anything you wanted to throw back in there, Tara?
I think that's it. I think that's it. I mean, we've got projects that we're working on, but nothing that's ready to public
So it's,
consumption
right.
yet.
I'll beat it out of you after the cameras go.
I'm sure
Don't
That's
worry.
fine.
Well, I'm going to talk really quickly about stuff we're doing. So tomorrow night we're playing Smash Brothers with you guys. We're going to do another sub stream, so you guys can join us for Smash Brothers. Mr. Kyle Boxman will be leading the charge, and other people will be popping in. I'm terrible at Smash Brothers, so I don't know if I will be joining. Friday we'll be continuing our stream of Final Fantasy VII. They're remaking it, so we're like, we got to play this game again. So we'll be picking up where we left off with Final Fantasy VII. Where did we leave off?
Ben dying.
You can watch that highlight on YouTube.
Yeah, I definitely recommend going and checking out that highlight. Mr. Kyle Bossman did some editing on that one. He actually put that together and didn't just do a simple copy paste job. He actually told the story in a fun way. And Sunday we're actually going to be doing a special stream. Mr. Brad Ellis and I will both be attending the final D23 games thing. There's a ton of awesome Disney news coming out this weekend, but there's only 2 specific gaming events of the panels that they're doing. Saturday evening, they're having a special Disney Infinity thing, and then Sunday at 11, I believe, they're doing a big Disney Interactive wide panel where they're going to be announcing new stuff for Kingdom Hearts, going to be announcing new stuff for Star Wars Battlefront, and going to be announcing 3 new, presumably Disney figures for Disney Infinity. And so immediately when that is done, Brad and I are going to get in our cars, drive all the way back from Anaheim to the office, jump on the stream, and talk about what we saw and talk about reactions. It'll be short or it'll be long, depending on the stuff that they announce. But we don't usually stream on Sunday, so Sunday, presumably at 2 p.m., depending on traffic and when the show wraps up. And I don't know, we might go ride the Matterhorn and then get in the car.
Of
and
course,
then come
Definitely
back.
ride the Matterhorn first.
Only if there's a goat on it, though.
Only if there's a goat. Well, if
There
there's a goat, I
is-
don't know. Would you get on the roller coaster if there was a goat on it?
There
I
is a
wouldn't get on the
goat.
roller
There is a
coaster
goat on
anyway,
the
but-
mountain.
There's a goat in the park?
There's a goat
well,
on the mountain.
Yeah, they're on the Matterhorn.
Not at the Matterhorn. It's the other mountain.
Oh, yeah, it's a Big
Railroad.
Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Oh, it's
Big
Big
Thunder.
Thunder Mountain. You're
Yeah,
right.
it's
He's
Big
got
Thunder.
a stick of dynamite in his mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's his name? He's got a funny name.
He does have a name.
That goat has a name?
Yeah, he has a name.
Man,
Like
they're
Goaty or
they're a
something?
little. Goaty would be my number
I
one
want to say
choice.
it's like Grumpy or something, but it's not. I don't
Oh,
remember
wow.
what
The
it is.
goat's got a name. I got to.
Yeah.
Got a name.
Ask a Disney.
Yeah. Well, I'm heading right. The summit continues tomorrow, so I'm heading right back down there after the show. So I will ask them my number one question. Of course, they have like questions at the Infinity panels. I'm
You're
the
like,
guy. It's like,
"Excuse me, what
the
is
goat
the-"
on Big Thunder? Tabletop Adventures, as we talked about before, returns this week. Anything special about this episode to get people psyched?
It's crazy.
Crazy, everybody.
Crazy.
It is
As
out of
opposed to all those other
control.
completely boring mainstream episodes of Tabletop
Yeah.
Adventures.
We're still confronting Sylvia, the Spider Queen.
We're inside her brain.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are you like a zombie
You
ant?
can't. You cannot just jump into the show. I'm telling you.
No, I'm gonna have to back
You
up and watch
totally
everything.
can.
Every time I get just a quick wrap up of an episode, I'm like, all right.
You can't write this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go to Spider's brain.
phenomenal.
Mandatory updates going on tour this week.
Totally
Very
normal.
special episode. We
Totally
actually have
normal episode.
we actually have some cool production stuff that we can talk about next week. That's going to be happening this week. And for those reasons, Mandatory Update will be going on tour,
Yeah.
which will mean it'll just get better and better.
Totally normal.
GT Time, of course, will
weird.
record tomorrow. If I can get out of the Toy Box Summit on time, I will be here for GT Time. I might not, which is our podcast, so somebody will be jumping in. And Rare Replay, part 3 is coming. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rare. Have you been at Rare Games? Have you ever
No.
guys ever worked with Rare? So they just had 30 games for $30, like 30 games from their collection. They made more games than that.
Right.
They had this massive collection that just came out, and we're like, well, we can't. It's tough to review that because there's still like we're not gonna have any time to like play actually through all those games.
Right,
So
that's a
we'll
lot of
do
games.
we'll do separate videos where we'll get together and talk about nostalgia. And man, that's taken a long time. So we haven't gotten to Rare Replay Part 3 yet, but that is coming, possibly recording tomorrow, and you guys can check that out later in the week. And Top 10 Sewers, of course, if I didn't mention that.
One more thing, too.
One more thing, Brad.
Well, tomorrow.
But wait, there's more.
Tomorrow is Kyle's long-awaited
Oh,
stand-up
yes.
special.
So,
at 8.
so Kyle Bossman, who you guys haven't met, is really big on bets. He brings it into our podcast before big events like E3 and Tokyo Game Show. We have bets of like what's going to be premiered and what won't. And Kyle lost a bet big time. And because he lost the bet, he's got to do a stand-up routine. How long is the stand-up routine?
1 hour.
No.
1 hour.
1
I streamed
hour.
the
My
stand-up
own
routine.
personal
That
hell.
is-
1
It's like
hour.
Chris Tucker won't go
He
for an
told
hour.
me he's gonna try to sabotage it and make me the villain and make it so.
Just make fun of you the whole time?
He's basically saying that
hate
I'm
to see
gonna
that.
regret it. So
Wow.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And
That's quite a bet.
Yeah, and I actually have an unresolved bet. I won a bet where he has to put a stupid amiibo in all of his videos, so I gotta go out and I gotta get the right, the stupidest
right
enough
amiibo.
amiibo. So that stuff's coming up. And just the URLs one more time: Monster Mayhem Hub,
Monkey
Mayhem. Sorry.
Monkey Mayhem Hub, shelflifeseries.com.
You can find us both with our names on Twitter.
What do you use Monster Mayhem, the new Batman Unlimited?
Oh yeah, Monster
you're-
Mayhem is the new Batman Unlimited. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what.
played
So
Red Robin,
it
you
was
were good.
relevant.
You were good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You were,
Yeah.
you were
But
still
if you go
dialed
to
in.
that website, you won't find us.
Right,
so.
this is true.
Right. You can find us both on Twitter at Yuri Lowenthal and at
At
Terra
Terra
And
Platt.
Shelf Life Series.
Shelflifeseries.com.
Yeah, so please go check those out. We will be back next Wednesday for another GT Live. Thank you guys so much.
Outstanding.
It was so
Thank
nice.
you.
It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
We do.
Through the
Wonderful. Thank you, Elise, for answering questions. Thank you, guys. Mr. Huber coming in, just pulled by the Goat Simulator.
And, I was finishing something, and then I came in.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Blood, for playing Goat Simulator. And thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I didn't see you. Wait, what? What did Ian do? What?
Ian in the booth.
Yeah, what?
Ian in the booth.
Ian, you did
Thank
something?
you, Ian.
What did-
Thanks.
How was the show, Ian?
It was good.
Was it good?
Good.
It's
Was it
good.
okay?
Thank you,
It was
Ian.
good.
It was decent.
Gonna do this
One thumbs up.
now.